today is 2 Corinthians 13, 11 to 13. I'm reading from the New Revised Standard Version. This is Paul's final greeting and benediction to the church at Corinth. Finally, brothers and sisters, farewell. Put things in order. Listen to my appeal. Agree with one another. Live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you. Greet one another with a holy kiss. All the saints greet you. The grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all. The word of the Lord.
I despise your religious festivals. Your assemblies are as a stench to me. Even though you bring me burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. Though you bring choice fellowship offerings, I will have no regard for them. I will not listen to the music of your harps. But let justice roll like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. This is coming from the prophet of Amos, Prophet Amos 5, chapter 5, verses 21 to 24. I was born in the Methodist Church, Methodist Church in Mexico. But as many of you decide to be Methodist for one reason. Could be because your whole family is Methodist. Could be because it's the place where you feel more comfortable. Or just because there is a place that you found the Spirit of God is working in the church. Personally, I have all that together, but also I love the history of the Methodist Church, the history, all the background that the Methodist Church we have behind us. I love the roots of looking for the well-being of the person, of the people. I love the message of peace, justice, and build a kingdom where everybody could be happy and could live in peace and could believe safety. That is the message, and that is part of our story. This is part of our heresy. All this background about looking for a better place to live. And that is we're talking about social justice. And that is we're talking about holiness, social holiness. And that is also why we're talking about too. That Methodist Church, we said that the word is our parish. Because it's not just we focus in a little group of people. We're thinking about in general, in our whole community. That is also one of the reasons why I am Methodist. I love the story. And certainly I read a lot about this story in United States, Methodist Church in the United States, but also I know about my history in my own country. And how a Methodist Church becoming to give a message to my people in Mexico of freedom and again the possibility to live, to have a better life is very powerful. It was very powerful in my country. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, any religion that professes to be concerned about the souls of people and it is no concern about the social and economic conditions that can scar the soul. The soul is a religion waiting for the day to be buried. Today is Peace with Justice Sunday. And I know, please, I am not trying to, how can I explain? This is a sermon that could be, I know, could be sound too much political. But remember, just remember, the gospel, when we're talking about the gospel, we're talking about the gospel move people, change people, move our community, change the community, and in the whole, not just spiritual, not just about the soul, we're talking about all the different, what we are. And we not just our soul and the spirit, will be eventually, but now we are also a body and we have needs, and also with that needs becoming some issues too. The Bible that we read is filled with words that not only console us and encourage us, but also confront us with God's passionate concern for the poor, with God's demanding of justice, and God's uncompromising expectations of peace. In the Bible, there are thousands of verses about peace, justice, and poverty. And when you read it, you will discover that our God has a bias toward the poor, the oppressed, and the alien, the one who is different too. The prophet Amos goes as far as saying that worship and offering are offensive to God if we do not do all we can for those who suffer from injustice. For some reason, we seem to think that question related to peace and justice are really political questions that we should leave to political people, because after all, we are a people of faith. If that is the way you feel, it is time to take a long look at this book, the Bible. It is one of the most political, challenging, and demanding books ever written. Our God has a bias toward the poor, the oppressed, and the alien. In our gospel reading today, Jesus lays out very clearly his mission when he came to the synagogue in Nazareth and he opened the book of the prophet Isaiah and read, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to bring good news." And we know perfectly which one are those good news, and to whom these good news are addressed: to the poor, to the different, to them who are suffering some kind of injustice. Then the gospel continues saying in the Gospel of Luke, "He has sent me to proclaim relief for the captives, a recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Jesus was all about caring for those in need and seeking justice. And if we are his followers, that is our mission too. So how do we do justice. Let me share two important ways I think that can happen. First of all, I believe that as a follower of Jesus, we need to get involved. When we hear of those who are poor or hungry, our first inclination is sometimes just to give some money. When we are able to financially help someone in need, it makes us feel good, honestly. But it is too easy for us to give a little money and think that we have done everything that we can do it. Charity, yes, is important. But the truth is it's just a temporary fix. We should be thinking more beyond the immediate necessity of the people. We should be thinking about why this person is asking for money, or for food, or for a house, or for help. We should be thinking about what is the situation that provoked this person is looking for help. And we should try to change it. Let us thinking about the different illness that is happening in our community. With the youth, with migrants, with workers in the farmers. How is their life, how they are living, how there is the conditions of working or living too. I remember especially, and you know, I'm sorry, I hate to bring my car as an immigrant. But this is a moment. And certainly many people tell me, so, well, why immigrants come here? Why they not stay in their own country and they try to work in that? Because there are no options. There are countries, there are places with a lot of violence. There are places with a lot of poverty, with governments who don't answer to the basic needs of the people, and that people is dying for simple illness because they cannot have even water to wash their hands. Simple as that. And the violence too. You hear about the cartels in my country. But also there are also military groups in other countries that is killing their own people, especially the youth and the children. And obviously, what is the first thought as a parent? To take my children and to try to send them to a better place. Because if they continue living here, they will die in 2 or 3 days. How we can looking to try to fix and to looking for peace and justice for these places. Yes, of course, praying, but also sending letters to the representants, or even looking for another organization to see how we can help, how we can make this change. Because remember, we are not alone, because that not happens to you, that no me is not happening around the world, because it's happening. And we heard just the last weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, about the terrible situation in India because COVID, but also we hear about what is happening in Israel and Palestine. So we should too be capable to see beyond that. It's okay to help in that moment, but to try to understand why they are asking for help and how we can change that reality. And secondly, I think that to do justice, we need to speak out. How many of us we saw before us some injustice and we prefer to be quiet because we don't have any problem? I mean, that's okay. But that is not what Jesus asking to us to do. If we read the Bible, and you know you already read it, the prophets exclaim really loud about the injustice against the people. Jesus, the same, was the one who also exclaimed loud about the suffering of people, because that should to be also our duty as a people of God. Don't be quiet about the injustice is happening. Don't be quiet when we see that somebody is bullied because it's different. Don't be quiet about that, because that is not what the people of God should to do. Probably that makes us unpopular. Probably, or for sure. For sure that will make that will make that people don't will like what we are saying. But honestly, as a human beings, as a Christians, as a children of God, we cannot be quiet before the injustice against people. The world we live is full of people who suffer injustice. And we don't to look very hard or very far. And we are sent to here to be the ones to change the kind of world, the situation of the world that we are living. That is the purpose of the church. Just remember always that. Today, as I say, is Peace with Justice Sundays. And probably I don't talk enough about justice. But here is the thing. Without justice, there cannot be peace. That is a truth. Until everyone receives the justice they deserve, including us, we will not have peace. An ancient Greek philosopher once said, "Justice will not come to Athens until those who are not injured are as indignant as those who are injured." Again, if to you don't bother you what is happening in the world, there is a problem. But if you are capable to feel empathy for those who are suffering, that is correct, that is right. But not just feel bad, make something. Every human being matters. If you are a follower of the man called Jesus, you have been given the charge to bring good news to the poor, to proclaim release for the captive and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. You know, and I forget now how it goes. You know the hymn, "Once to every man a nation"? Do you know that hymn? Yes? It looks like no? No, right now I don't remember. Unfortunately, not in our hymnals. It's in the African hymnal Methodist Church. They have it. And it's a beautiful hymn. And he said, this hymn said, the first stanza said, once to every man and nations comes the moment to decide in the strife of truth with falsehood for the good of evil side. Some great cause, some great decisions, offering each the bloom of right, and the choice goes by forever, twixt that darkness and that light. Well, as you can imagine, when you've been to read in preparation for a sermon of justice and peace, who's by Dr. King, surface frequently. I began this sermon with one, and I want to close with another. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. I think many of us have been far too silent, or if not silent, then we have speaking with a whisper about the things that matter. It is time to speak out about injustice wherever we find it. Our brothers and sisters are waiting eagerly for our response as a Church of Christ. Should we say we can't win the battle? Shall we say the struggle is too hard? We will send our deepest regrets, or we will send a message of hope, of solidarity with their journeys and committed to their cause wherever the cost? Once to everyone and nations comes the moment to decide. God sends you out from this place into a world that is hurting. Go and work for justice and seek a pathway to peace. Amen.